what can I possibly add to the commentary, the euphoria, the schadenfreude of the last week? Really, there's nothing to say. I am, as so many of you are, as everyone I know is, ecstatic, over the moon, at the re-election of Barack Obama, at the going down in flames of the GOP's team rape, all the pro-rape, rape babies are a gift from God, rape is a method of conception. All those motherfuckers went down to defeat. Democrats picked up 2 seats in a Senate. They were expected to lose. Marijuana legalized at the ballot box in Colorado and Washington State. Also in Washington State, we have a new state motto, Welcome to Washington State, where you can get married, get high, and if somebody doesn't like it, he can get fucked. That's going to be at the airport when you fly in to see your relatives if you're coming home for Christmas, coming home to Washington State. Marriage! Oh my God! After 32 straight victories for the haters and the bigots, for the Brian Brownses and Tony Perkinses and Maggie Gallagherses, we won all 4. Brian Brown, head of the National Organization of Marriage, was predicting going into last Tuesday's elections that we would lose all 4. We won. Marriage equality comes to Maine, Maryland, and Washington State by a public vote at the ballot box, through the ballot box. And in Minnesota, where just a few weeks ago I went to Winona State University and predicted that we would lose, I was in the fight. I helped raise, I think, over $13,000 on my trip to Minnesota during the campaign. Terry and I personally donated $5,000 to the marriage campaign in Minnesota. I thought we would lose, though, and the polls didn't look good, but we fucking won. It didn't bring marriage to Minnesota, but it kept an anti-gay marriage ban out of the Minnesota State Constitution. We have a fight left in Minnesota, and we are going to fucking win there. I am ecstatic. I have been calling Terry my hickbay for a long time, which, as everyone who listens to the show knows, stands for husband in Canada, boyfriend in America. And now I get to amend that. He's the Hick-Awa Bay, which stands for husband in Canada and Washington, boyfriend in America, because DOMA still stands. A lot of people were saying in the wake of last week's vote that we had won, that it was over. It's not over. The Defense of Marriage Act is still federal law. Marriage is legal now in 9 states, hopefully California soon. 15% of the country lives in states where marriage equality is the law. And if California comes through, if the Supreme Court allows the decision overturning Prop 8 to stand, 30% of the people of this country will live in a state that allows same-sex couples to marry just like all other couples. And if we can repeal DOMA, if the Supreme Court declares DOMA unconstitutional, or if we can get a DOMA repeal through Congress, then we are winning. We're winning anyway. And, you know, there's something I want to get off my chest. It's actually something I want to launch here on the podcast today. But before I do, I need to say this. We built this, to steal a line from the Romney campaign that they're not going to need anymore. We built this. The breakthroughs that we saw this week, including the election of Tammy Baldwin to the U.S. Senate from the state of Wisconsin, first gay person in the U.S. Senate, we built this. Lesbian, gay, bi, and trans people came out. Speaking of bi, the election of the first openly bi person to the United States Congress last Tuesday. We came out, we fought back, we really did change the world. We have a fuck of a lot left to do. We got to repeal DOMA, we got to pass ENDA. We have unfinished business with Don't Ask, Don't Tell. Trans people are still barred from serving in the military, and we have the rights of queers around the world to think about and defend and fight for. But lesbian, gay, bi, and trans people have made such tremendous progress since Stonewall. It has gotten better for us because we came out and we fought to make it better, because we demanded better from ourselves, from our families, from our communities, from our leaders. La-di-da. The end. Period. But now I got to say this. I got to say something to straight people. All queer people, I think, right now, this week in the United States, there's something we need to say to straight people. And that something is, thank you. I know so many straight people in Washington State, where I live, who worked unbelievably hard on the campaign to win marriage equality for their gay and lesbian friends, family members, neighbors. I know straight people in all 4 states who voted, who gave money, who worked phone banks, who knocked on doors, who pounded the pavement, all in an effort to make it possible for same-sex couples to marry. Queer people, gays and lesbians, we are a tiny percentage of the population. And we laid the groundwork for the breakthroughs we saw last week in Maine, Maryland, Washington, and Minnesota. We built this, but we didn't build it on our own. The majorities in the state legislatures in Maine, Maryland, and Washington that voted to make same-sex marriage legal, straight. The governors who signed those bills into law, straight. The overwhelming majority of the people who voted in favor of marriage equality in all 3 states after anti-gay bigots forced public referendums on our civil rights, the majority of those voters, straight. The majority that voted against writing anti-gay bigotry into Minnesota state constitution last week, straight. And the president who took a huge political risk and came out for marriage equality before his re-election campaign, straight. It has gotten better for us. Better, not perfect. But it hasn't gotten better for us in a vacuum. It has gotten better for us because straight people have gotten better about us. Rights are rights. They shouldn't be put up for a vote, and we shouldn't have to say thank you when our rights are recognized. But the sad fact is that we have had to fight for our rights. But there is a happy fact, and it's really hard for me to talk about this without getting weepy. The happy fact is we are no longer fighting for our rights alone. We have help. Thousands and thousands of straight people stood with us and fought for us. We built this. We had help. We didn't have to do it on our own. And that's what I think we should thank the straight people for. We queers, all the queers out there listening, not for granting us our rights. Rights are rights are rights. We should thank them for joining our fight. You know, last week on Slog, my blog, the group blog at The Stranger that I'm a part of, I floated the idea of having a great big party for all the straight people who came through for us in Maine and Maryland and Minnesota and Washington State. But how do you fit all those straight people into a ballroom? And, you know, planning a party like that, the logistics would be terrible. When could everybody agree on one night to get together to thank all the straight people? And I don't mean like thank somebody for voting our way. That's literally the least you could do, to fill out the little oval for equality. I'm talking about the straight people I'm thinking are the ones who gave money, who volunteered their time, who worked the phone banks, who went door to door. The straight people who went above and beyond the call. How do we get them all together in a ballroom to thank them? We can't. They won't all fit in a ballroom. 30, 40 years ago, the straight people on our side could have fit in a phone booth. Today we can't fit, even just in Seattle, the straight people on our side in the biggest venue in the state. So here's what I'm proposing. Queers, gays, lesbians, bisexual, transgendered people who can hear my voice. If you know a straight person who went above and beyond the call, gave the money, pounded the pavement, worked the phone banks, I want you to take a picture of that person, maybe a picture of yourself or your family with that person, that straight person. Write a few words about what they did and go to www.straightupthanks.tumblr.com and post that picture and post that story and thank that straight person for what they've done for us, for you, for your family, for themselves too. It is better even for straight people to live in a world where gay people are treated equally. So they did it for us, they did it for themselves, but I really do think that we should be polite and say thank you.